I'm still not completely sure about what I just watched. I just finished watching Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers. It was released in 2024 and it is based on the 1922 Nosferatu. Now, I'm not completely familiar with all the lore of Nosferatu and how it is kind of loosely based on Dracula or whatever. Now, I will say I also didn't really watch Robert Eggers' former movies. I'm really not. This is we're completely out of my realm. Okay, with this movie, I'm completely out of my realm. I went into it very blind. I did not have any expectations of this movie. I did not have any expectations of Robert Eggers, so I really was just enjoying it for what it was. I feel like now where we're at with vampire movies, we enjoy the allure of vampires. I think vampires, they represent desire. Vampires represent being okay with the ugliest parts of yourself, and it usually manifests itself as sexy or cool and mysterious and secretive. And I like that Nosferatu was ugly and scary and had a creepy voice and he had creepy fingers, and it was just old school vampire where you're like, I don't want anything to do with this vampire. I don't want this vampire to touch me. I think now we're kind of getting to the point where like, I want to be a vampire, especially with Interview with the Vampire and Twilight, and just vampires seeming a lot more cool and mysterious instead of scary and something that should be avoided. And I like that Count Orlok and Nosferatu is just ugly and scary and weird and creepy, and I don't want anything to do with it. That being said, I also think it was very interesting that Count Orlok represented Ellen's shame and her disgust kind of with her own sexuality, which I don't know if that was like in the first movie. I don't really know if those two things led to each other. I see a lot of people saying that Nosferatu was a very horny movie. I didn't see very horny. I mean, to me, Challengers is a very horny movie. Saltburn is a very horny movie. This didn't really seem that horny, but I guess maybe to the 1920s, Nosferatu it was. But I think that was a small little tiny tidbit in there that kind of lent to the thematic looks at sexuality and shame. This movie really did not pick up for me until about an hour in, honestly, when I seen Willem Dafoe's character, and I was like, okay, he kind of did some of the exposition or some of the telling the audience what's going on, whereas the first hour we were just watching it, and if you don't know what's going on, you kind of don't know what's going on. So I personally don't like horror. And it's not so much because it's scary. I feel like horror a lot of times is very predictable, it's very cheap. Outside of jump scares, it either has to be really disgusting and despicable to the point where I'm like, what? Or I just need more story. I feel like if the story doesn't do anything for me and I'm just seeing people be possessed, it's just, I'm not like, what is that? What am I watching? Robert Eggers was able to use more practical ways of doing effects like they had to do in the 1920s. So using shadows, using light, using split lighting, using all of these things to make it seem more realistic instead of taking me out the movie. And I think those things made this film feel like a tale being told, which a lot of movies lack nowadays. I feel like a lot of the time movies really just kind of jump out the window to the point where it's like, okay, what is this? What am I even watching? I feel like I'm watching something that's not real, which for some movies, obviously that's okay when that's the case. But for horror, I feel like for it to be scary, anybody can be scared of a shadow of a person in their room. You know what I'm saying? That's basic scary, and I can deal with that instead of seeing a doll get possessed or seeing somebody running down the stairs or falling down the stairs because a spirit threw them across the room. Like, it's just like, at this point, this is not serious. We're not being serious. Overall, I really want to give this movie a 4 stars, right? But that first half of this movie was, I was falling asleep. It was really hard for me to get through and understand what was happening. And I just really felt along for the ride. I'm telling you, once Willem Dafoe's character showed up and he was kind of the vehicle to get us through the movie and understand what we were seeing and understand what Nosferatu stood for, I think that is what kind of brought that movie up. But the first half of the movie, I was very much out of the count. So for that reason, I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 3.5 stars. I really want to give it like a 3.89. You know what I'm saying? But the 4 stars, I just can't, for the simple fact that a lot of people don't know, like Nosferatu came out 102 years ago. I don't think I'm alone in not knowing all the Nosferatu lore. And I feel like for people like that, when you're in the movie theater, you need to know what's happening in the first hour. Like the first hour, not knowing what's going on is kind of crazy. But I did enjoy the cinematography. I did enjoy the performances. Lily Rose Depp had an amazing performance. Willem Dafoe always performs amazing, and it actually makes me want to watch the other Robert Eggers films that has Willem Dafoe because I'm a little curious. They don't seem like my kind of thing, honestly, but now I'm a little curious. So be on the lookout for that. You might see me reviewing some of those, maybe, possibly. But let me know what you guys think about Nosferatu. Let me know if you've seen it. Let me know if you guys were scared of Count Orlok or Bill Skarsgård, which I definitely, you could have showed me Bill Skarsgård and I would have not known it was him at all. Make sure you follow me on Letterboxd. My Letterboxd is in the description, and make sure you subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Then who was flickering the lights?
Nosferatu!